Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly. This is section215.com. I'm the senior editor and content developer here. Thank you guys for tuning in. As everyone knows, we're closing in on Sixers season getting going, and we're not necessarily going to do an in-depth preview here because we know what we're getting into with this team this year. We all love Sam Hinkie's plan. The NBA is going to try and throw a wrench in it at least a little bit this week when they likely pass lottery reform. That's complete BS, but that's another story for another time. We're not necessarily going to do a huge in-depth preview, though, because we know what the Sixers are. They're a team of a lot of cast-off guys that don't really belong in the NBA, and they're trying to build towards the future. This video isn't necessarily going to be about Michael Carter-Williams or Nerlens Noel or Joel Embiid, because we'll have plenty of time to overanalyze all three of those guys this year, and if they're all three here next year, which I wouldn't bet on, we'll have plenty of time to do that then. Even if they aren't all three here next year, we'll have plenty of time to discuss them this year because there's only going to be so many times I can write articles this year talking about how the Sixers suck or how the league's pissed at the Sixers or something like that. So we'll have plenty of time. I want to kind of get a gauge on the rest of the roster. And like I said, I'm not thrilled with the rest of the roster. I think most of the guys, I'd bet 85% of the rest of the roster isn't going to be here in 2 or 3 years. But I want to look, this kind of gives you a chance when you're this bad to look at some guys and you find some diamonds in the rough almost by mistake. And I think in a lot of senses, the Sixers found that with Tony Wroten last year, a former late first-round pick, let go by the Grizzlies. He came in here last year, and by a lot of accounts, a lot of advanced metrics and advanced statistics, Tony Wroten was one of the most inefficient, best players you could have on a roster to tank guys in the NBA last year. And a lot of people think that, yeah, keep him here for a couple years, he'll help you get higher picks. I watched virtually every Sixers game, as painful as doing that was. I like the fact that they had a plan, so I could get behind watching painful basketball. And I guess I just got a different perception watching rather than just looking at the stats. And I am not an anti-stat person, anti-metrics person, furthest thing from it. But I think we need to understand in every sport that metrics and statistics have their place, but they're not the only thing. They're certainly not a substitute for watching what you see with your eyes. And I think they help you clarify a lot of the things you see with your eyes. But I watched Tony Wroten last year, average 13 points, but shoot under 43%. And I learned a lot about him in a few different aspects. And what I want to see out of Tony Wroten this year is a bit more of an ability to come off the bench. I think that's what he is. I think he is a sixth man. Come off the bench and not only provide that spark getting to the hoop. I want to see him be able to get to the hoop from both sides. Last year, he really did not display an ability to use his right hand. He needs to do that. He's in the NBA. And also, I want to see Tony Wroten not only develop an ability to come off the bench and provide energy in himself, but I want to see him make everyone around him better. And that's one thing that I didn't notice about him last year is he'll come off the bench and he'll shoot a ton and he'll have his nights where he's really effective. He'll have a lot more nights where he's probably not, but the nights where he is effective are probably going to make having Tony Wroten around worth it because he's a spark that can help you either get a rally going or to help finish off a rally and put a team away coming off the bench. And I want to see him be able to help the entire team to do that, to become a better distributor, a better facilitator. And I think also him having a shot is going to make him getting to the hoop even easier than he made it look last year. He's fast, he's energetic, he's talented off the bench. I want to see him build on those aspects of his game. One thing I don't necessarily want to see is him on the court at the same time as Michael Carter-Williams. I think a lot of the problems that we talked about when people thought, well, maybe they can draft Dante Exum at the 3 rather than taking the Joel Embiid risk, a lot of those apply. I mean, obviously Dante Exum is going to turn out to be a better player than Tony Wroten. I don't have any question about that. But a lot of those same things that we discussed apply to having these two on the court at the same time. Neither of them are very good shooters. And neither of them, well, Dante Exum actually I think will be a pretty decent defender. Michael Carter-Williams isn't a great defender. I think he has room to build on that. And I think having Noel in there and eventually maybe Joel Embiid in there as well, I think that will help him become a better defender. Tony Wroten also shares a lot of those same type of things. He can have an energy play on defense, but consistently, is he a very good defender? Is he a very effective player on that side of the court? Not really. So having those two in at the same time, it's really counterproductive to me because Tony Wroten is not someone that's very good off the ball. And while you'd like to see him improve on that, he's never going to be a shooting guard because he's never going to be a good enough shooter, and he's never going to be able to be effective enough to make it worth having him in there when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. I know in a lot of senses you would say, well, I mean, look around this roster, especially what they had late last year after they traded Hawes, after they traded Turner. They both are two of the 5 best players on the team. But Manu Ginobili for years has been one of the 5 best players on the Spurs and has thrived coming off the bench. There's been times when they've started him, but I mean, obviously Manu Ginobili is a completely different player. But I think when you have someone that has the ability to thrive as a 6th man, you don't always want to mess with that. You don't always want to put them in the starting line. You want to look at where they thrive, and a lot of times it's thriving. Manu Ginobili will come in for Tony Parker. Tony Wroten can come in for Michael Carter-Williams, spell him, and keep the energy level up while Michael Carter-Williams is out of the game. And I think this year, if we can get a clearer understanding of whether Tony Wroten really has been able to improve on his shooting and become a more efficient, effective player in addition to the energy that we saw from him last year, I think that'll give you a sense of what he is long term. Is he just a guy that will see these amazing plays in the Seattle Pro-Am tournaments and think, wow, you know, this is a great street player that, I mean, he's good enough to be on an NBA roster, but he's never going to be able to be a truly effective NBA player? Or is this someone that we can look at and say, there's something to work with there, and it's not like the Sixers in 2 years are magically going to be, and by 2 years I mean next season, it's not like they're going to magically be a playoff team by then. It's still going to be a growth period. Is he worth giving minutes to and taking away minutes from somebody else who could be in that position? Is he worth that risk to the Sixers? That's what they need to figure out with him this year. Tony Wroten is really one of the guys I'm going to be looking at for your 2014-15 likely record-setting Philadelphia 76ers. I'm Tim Kelly. This is Section215.com. Follow me on Twitter, TimKelly_215, at SEC215, that's SEC215. Any questions, leave it in the comments, hit me up on Twitter, email me, get at me in any way you want to. I love interacting with other sports fans, especially those that come out of the best sports city in America, which is Philadelphia. I will catch you guys next time.